Well, I mean, if you go talk to the guys at Allied Reliability, that was started by John Schultz, who lives here in town. We talked to one of his main developers, Chris. But we've spent a significant amount of time talking, and matter of fact, some of my opinions come from him because they've done those kind of analyses with pretty much any kind of rotating piece of equipment, right? They're like, we know all the failure modes, right? It's not rocket science.
So there's a fixed number.
Yeah. Yep. And they can generally figure it out, without the machine learning. Generally. And, to me, there's a whole lot of people throwing stuff at machine learning that is already known. They want to throw machine learning like, hey, we want to go do condition-based maintenance with machine learning, and then we go say, okay, well, let's take a look at that. Well, here's a pump or a compressor that I want to monitor. Like we have a customer now where they want to do that, and I'm like, okay, all I know is if this pump is running.
Yeah.
So so we did some first principle analytics, right? How many times have I stopped and started it? One of them, we saw that they were, bumping a lot, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, because they had solids in their line. So what would happen is if they didn't run it for a while, there would be solids that would build up in the line, and if they try to start it, it would jam the whole thing up, and then it was a mess. So they would sit there and start and stop it a bunch. Well, guess what? They had premature seal failure on that, right?
Not a surprise.
Not shocking, right? So we did, high frequency start stops. We did the number of start stops. We did runtime. We could do all that with just the running signal, right? So we did some first principles analytics, right? They would tell us things. But literally, if they had inlet and outlet pressure and horsepower, they would understand where that pump's operating on the curve, and then we could tell when it was starting to, have a problem, right? Because it would start deviating from the curve. It's not magic, right? But the problem was they didn't have inlet and outlet pressure, and they only had horsepower on maybe 5% of their pumps.
Yep.
So a lot of times people were like, oh, I want to do machine learning. I'm like, you don't even have the sensor data to even begin. It's like, oh, I want to be a power lifter. Well, have you been lifting weights for the last year? No.
Yeah.
Well,
and part of it though is starting that conversation too. It's like, we know we want to solve these problems, and we're like, okay, let's apply this tool. But wait, hold up. We need new sensor data. We need new inputs. And so I think a lot of analytics in itself is just shining that flashlight on, into the dark, and just, okay, we didn't like what we see. We need to change those things, right? So
I always tell people when we start doing any kind of analytics, it's not even a flashlight. It's like worse than a ring light, right? It's a white hot bright spotlight on your data quality.
Yep. Yeah.
Right, and if your data quality stinks, you're collecting data once a minute when you need it once a second. It's going to be really limited on what we can do with it. All right. Or if you're collecting it once a second when you really need to be collecting it every 15 minutes, that's a different problem, right? So data quality, data fidelity is always a discussion that we have to have with people, and they never want to have that conversation until they bring us this, and then they're like, whatever. Good luck.
It's part of you want a solution without going through all of the steps to get it. And it's one of the things that I like about you guys, other than our inability to have a conversation that is 30 minutes or less, is the fact that we all talk about low-hanging fruit. And you could, in theory, go sell a machine learning or artificial intelligence solution to most large companies, and you could tell them it's $20 million, and they may give you $20 million, but you still have to go through all of that low-hanging fruit, which may solve their problem before you get to what we're talking about as AI and machine learning.
Well, if I'm like 5'8", and if I weighed 300 pounds, and it's like, just give me a pill that gets me back to 150 pounds. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's just like that video I just did on the project versus process mentality. Right? Your project might be, I go to the gym 3 times a week and I eat, 200, 300 less calories than I need to take in a day. And if I do those projects over time, then I'm going to see results. Nobody wants to go through that process. They want to take the magic pill and be back at 150 pounds. Right? And the other problem that we run into is people say, well, okay, well, what's the justification, you know, of this project? Well, you know, sometimes we can do that, and sometimes it's a little bit nebulous. You know, we try to come up with that, but that's almost like saying, okay, if I go to the gym and I work out for an hour, and I only eat, you know, I'm supposed to eat 2,000 calories, and I only eat 1,500 calories, and I went and burned 500 calories at the gym, how much weight do I lose today? That's not really the point.
How much water did you drink at that point?
There's all kinds of other things. Well, it's like, well, if you keep doing that for a year, okay, now we're going to start really seeing some results. Or if you do it for a couple of months, we'll see results, right? But everybody's like, well, I just want to go work out once, and I want to eat a little less today, and I want to lose a couple pounds because I want to see the benefits so that I know to actually keep doing it. I'm not saying that mentality is totally wrong. I'm just saying sometimes it gets taken, you know, overboard. And I think, you know, these advanced analytics, machine learning, AI, that whole realm of you know, stuff, we'll just call it that, stuff. That whole realm, that's kind of the mentality. It's not the magic pill. Sorry guys, there's no magic pill. I went to one of our customers, I visited them a few weeks ago, and I've heard this a couple of times, like they bought an enterprise agreement with OSIsoft, and they really haven't fully leveraged it yet. Okay, they paid a bunch of money and they haven't fully leveraged it. Well, now the problem is as they should, they're doing some advanced analytics stuff. Okay, well the problem is now a lot of the users are saying, well, we have this advanced analytics tool, why should we do all of that? You know, and my take is, well, you're missing the low-hanging fruit and the stuff on the ground, right? And I think that's the real mentality we have to get over as an industry. The height curve has been so much. They're like, well, I don't need to do all the basic blocking and tackling, all this stuff. I don't need to watch my diet. I don't need to work out. I just take this magic pill and it'll magically solve my weight problem, you know, and lower my cholesterol, get my blood pressure right, and all that stuff. It's really a process, right? That is a tool. It is a tool built for a specific purpose, as are the ones that we've touted. You have to think about what's the right tool for the right job. Okay, you were down in my garage earlier. I have a bunch of tools hanging on the wall, right?
Yep.
I don't use a hammer to build my fishing rods with. I have a different set of tools, very specific for that, right? I don't take a screwdriver and beat a nail into the wall. You have to have different sets of tools. Anyway, I'll shut up now.